video, I'm using my new 100 empty half pans as well as the Rubens Opera set. Here I unbox the beautiful wrapping for the neon set. This set is called Opera Brights and they're all neon colors. They're extremely useful when added to my watercolor collection so that I can do some colors I couldn't do physically before. They are not light fast and are not intended for original artwork for sale without a strong warning to customers that these colors will fade in time. But I was sick of not being able to get certain colors. The most valuable color in the set I find overall for me is actually the yellow, although all the other colors are useful and there's plenty of artwork I'm going to be using them for. I also end up mixing 3 extremely useful custom colors from them, as well as filling up some half pans. I'm saving some in the tubes as well in order to put in a new 42 palette I'm building to be travel worthy, though not all the colors will make it into that, for I have certain custom mixes and other tube colors that need to be in that spinner palette set once it comes in the mail. I find the Rubens quality after testing it out here to be actually extremely high, and I was really lucky to get the deals I got on Prime Day. I'm also reusing this old pastel pencil tin, which fits half pans perfectly, and these little sticky back magnets from Dollarama. After doing that, I also get some paints that were currently in this other tin and transfer them over to this one. Over time, I'm moving all the paints around, gouache and watercolor, custom mixes, and some straight from the tubes. I'm working everything out here and doing some color swatch tests. As you can see, I rearranged the order to an order that made much more sense to me, and I'm keeping them in this order now. Once I fill up this tin entirely, then I'll do the final swatch card that matches the tin in the correct order. But for now, I'm doing a rough swatch card in one of my sketchbooks, and I have just the neons here in this sketchbook. The camera truly doesn't do them justice. Some of the brightest colors here are way brighter than they appear on camera, and in real life are extremely vibrant. When I'm in certain moods, I can be sensitive to light, and it'll actually give me headaches to look at these neon colors, especially the brightest ones. But when I'm in another mood or feeling a certain way, I can look at them just fine with no ill effects. But there are actually times when I will have to cover them up and not look at them because of my susceptibility to the brightness of neon colors. By mixing a touch of the golden paint in with the yellow, I make a beautiful, more warm neon yellow. I also am able to mix the neon light red and the neon pink to make a beautiful, vibrant pink red, which I really like, as well as a beautiful yellow green, which I find incredibly helpful. I end up mixing half pans of these colors. I found them to be the most useful of the mixes, and I only have 5 milliliters of each color. I'd like to get another set like this, or at the very least a 15 milliliter tube of the neon yellow and a nice opera pink. Now all these colors are opera before the names, which also stands for neon. This is a Fabriano 25% cotton watercolor hot press paper. Here I am using some washi tape to put it on another piece of paper. Using a ruler and some reference I already got from a screenshot, I'm going to do a fan art from the music video KDA Pop Stars, which I really love and find artistically inspiring. I couldn't physically paint this before and get the colors accurate with traditional art until I bought this neon set, so this was what won. I had made a whole page of options for what I wanted to do for the neon artwork for this video, and honestly, scenes from KDA's Pop Stars, which is actually a League of Legends music video, won out because I knew it would be absolutely beautiful and I'd really enjoy doing it. This, however, is actually a bit of a difficult picture to do, and it took a lot of time. It can be a little tricky using gouache on this paper, but this paper works very excellently with watercolors. I feel like it's interesting that gouache works better on cheaper papers in my opinion, although you can still use gouache on higher quality papers like this, which have cotton in them. I find it takes the paint out a little faster, and there's a weird slowness and a resistance when you pull the brush across that I don't find there on cheaper papers, which I think is really interesting. You can still do gouache on this paper, but you really need to know the quirks of the paper and try to use it to the best of its ability, as well as being mentally prepared for things. I'm showing the roughing in process. I'm trying not to erase too much so as not to damage the surface of the paper, and I'm trying to be more gentle with lines. Overall, I use a 2B pencil, and in the end, I'm going to use a kneadable eraser to lighten it, but I want to keep everything more of a gentle touch so that things aren't too much at any point. I end up not copying the reference exactly perfectly. Akali is the name of the character here, who uses like magical neon paint. It's originally a three-dimensional picture where pieces are on different surfaces, and when you stand in the perfect spot, it forms the picture of the neon dragon. I didn't copy it exactly perfectly to the screenshot, but I got the general idea and look very close, and I have to say good enough. I didn't double check that my perspective and lines were perfect in this picture because I found I would find that not fun and more difficult to do, and I decided I would focus on doing it in a way that was more enjoyable. I'm trying to experiment and use the neon colors, but I also use other paints that I have, including special radiant and neon color mixes that I did after the initial swatches and tests. I dug up my old Dr. P.H. Martin's Radiants, which are not light fast and are dye based, but I realized that they were brighter. I had purchased the Sunshine Yellow, the Cyclamen, and the Turquoise Blue, so I'm able to mix very vibrant, more neon-y colors using those as well, in addition with some of the neon paints. I really wish I had more of these actually to make more custom mixes, and like I said, I'm really looking into getting more of, even if it's a different brand, getting more neon yellow and neon pink, so probably going to be called Opera Yellow and Opera Pink. But it's interesting, and I'd really prefer to have tubes, which is better for pre-mixing when you're making your own custom half and full pans. The neon red color that came in here is not quite as vibrant as some of the other neon colors. However, it's the exact perfect red color that is used for the dragon from this video. In fact, plenty of the neon colors here are an exact match for the neon colors, or when mixed together make the perfect different colors. The neon ultramarine, the neon purple, neon violet, neon red, and it's pretty easy to mix up some of the other bright colors that match it. It took a little more work to get the neon outline color you'll see later, but I was able to do it because I have these paints. I literally wouldn't have been able to get this. It is, in real life, extremely color accurate to the actual still shot from the screen grab I got from the music video, but it doesn't quite look as perfectly color accurate. The camera isn't capturing the neon quite as well as the human eye does, but it is an extremely good color match for the actual screenshot, which I'm really happy with. It's part of the reason why I really wanted to invest in the neon paints despite their fugitive nature, so that I could physically actually get accurate colors. Tropical fish, flowers, neon lights themselves, cyberpunk, science fiction, science fantasy, magic effects, things like the fan art for this, and various other things that require neon and fluorescence in order to get the colors accurate. I change paintings on my walls fairly often, and I haven't been selling a lot of commissions, so I decided that investing in some fugitive art supplies that are more color accurate and plain old fun to use would allow me to get more colors, and I thought getting those colors is actually more valuable to me. I'm trying to keep very close track of which of my art supplies are more light fast and which aren't, so that when it does come time to do a commission that needs to be more light fast, I can stick to only my light fast materials. Otherwise, I'm going to stop worrying about it. I think it's much more useful to actually enjoy and be inspired by the art supplies you're using and the art you're making than to focus obsessively over light fastness and longevity. After all, it's a gouache and watercolor painting. If someone splashes a bunch of water on it, no matter how light fast the pigments are, it's destroyed. If it's stored in a place that is too humid for too long, it will also degrade even on acid-free paper with the most light fast of pigments. The problem is, if we only obsessed over the longevity of art, we never get some of the most inspiring and creative things. There wouldn't be sand art or fireworks or anything like that. There wouldn't be any street art or chalk art or graffiti art. So I think it was a good reminder to myself that even fugitive things have value, because a lot of the YouTube community, and there's been a lot of focus on light fastness, and I think at a certain point it becomes unbalanced and detrimental. I think we really need to focus on understanding light fastness so that we don't use it improperly at the wrong times, but also allow the use of fugitive pigments and supplies that are joyful and enjoyable to do. I feel like the other consideration is that we can sell non-light fast paintings if we warn people. I feel like I'm going to use fugitive pigments even for commissions, but only if I have the person who's commissioning me fully understand and explain to them what I'm doing and why. Because I feel like some people might actually want bright neons in some commission artwork, especially if they want accurate colors for things like certain flowers and for tropical fish. However, I feel like it's really, really important to tell people that. And if I do sell any artwork that's an original that involves fugitive art supplies, I'm going to lower the price, even though it's going to be the same amount of work, because it's not going to last long term. But I'm not going to lower the price too much. After all, I'm still charging full price when I do a digital artwork or a traditional one. So I'm not going to give people too much of a discount with fugitive pigments, but I'm going to make sure everyone understands what's going on. And that's what I decided to do. As for the original source for this fan art, League of Legends has amazing music and animations, and Fortiche Studios is truly one of the greatest and most inspiring animating studios I've ever seen in my life. The KDA Songs, which is a K-pop band that is put together specifically for League of Legends music and linked with the video game, which I do not play, has some of the best pop songs I've ever heard in my life. KDA Pop Stars is one of my favorite songs of all time, and I've listened to it hundreds of times since it came out, and I love also especially watching the music video. Every time I watch it, I feel inspired, and I've done several fan arts now from it and intend on doing more going forward. I decided to do a bit of a little camera trick there because I realized it was taking way too long to film, filling in all the darks in the background. So I decided to do a bit of a snap and come back once all those other details had been filled in. I don't know too much about every character featured here, but I do absolutely love the music videos, and I find it very artistically inspiring to listen to them. They feel empowering, the songs are beautiful, and every single moment in the music video is an absolute work of art. The way things are composed and line up, and the lack of unfortunate tangents in almost every shot is amazing. I think I messed it up more than the original reference actually had. There's some more tangenting happening in my version here than happened in the original screenshot, but I didn't want to erase things too much on the paper because I was drawing on the final good paper, and if you erase too much on watercolor paper, it can damage the surface and the sizing, which is something you should be aware of. The other thing is, I had to worry about the thickness of the paint in order to work on this paper. As I said, the 25% cotton is weirdly harder to work with thicker gouache. Now, to work on this section here, I had to keep mixing up this exact shade. I had pre-mixed something I called Sunset Yellow Blue Green, which is a bright greenish turquoise, which is the color of the sunlight on the water in the ocean near where I live that I mixed up using the radiance and the neons. I also mixed up that yellow green that I mentioned before, and I have a pale, bright, neon turquoise white. And by mixing those three already pre-mixed colors together, I was able to get this correct color here for the dragon outline color. I had to keep remixing it up though, because I didn't want to over mix it, but I also kept needing more amounts. Trying to keep it moist enough that I could keep working with it, but I couldn't water it down too much either, because then it would get more translucent. I tried to leave the white of the paper blank for all the areas this color would be in, but it's a bit tricky, so there are some areas where I had to cover over with very thick, more opaque paint in order to get things proper. The final effect is exactly as it looks more in the screenshot. It looks very glowing, very neon, and it looks luminescent from within. I almost feel like it looks like it should be glow in the dark, although I didn't use glow in the dark pigment here. It's very fluorescent. In real life, it's much brighter. Everything about this is even brighter in real life versus on camera, but I still think it looks good on camera. This artwork was really interesting to do. And even though it's just a fan art study, I think I did learn a lot. Something about the composition and the contrast I think will carry over into some other artwork I'm going to be doing in the future, especially using the neon colors. And I'm hoping to learn some things from it for my own original work later. I don't necessarily think that people should be restricted to only original art, and that doing fan art like this is a wonderful way to express yourself, especially if it's something that gives you joy. I found a frame that this fits in, and I'm actually going to hang it on the wall. I know it's fugitive, but it will last a bit longer behind glass, and the other issue is, even if it fades, I have my memories, I have my photos, and I have the ability to literally repaint it. The truth is, I'm not planning on keeping it up on the wall for that long, nor will I keep it up in more direct sunlight. But if it fades, it fades. I'm going to be doing new paintings and replacing paintings on the walls anyway. I think I don't want to keep things on the wall more than a couple years before replacing them with a new artwork. Sometimes I keep things up a little longer. Sometimes I replace them sooner. The point is, sometimes it's fun to change things up and to not limit yourself just by light fast materials, like I said. The other thing that's interesting is there comes a scientific joy with actually using fugitive pigments more in direct sunlight. I purposely made a very fugitive marker drawing and hung it up directly where the sun hit the wall. That ended up being really fun because I actually saw in real time how quickly it faded, and it was kind of interesting. It was just a painting of a cockatrice made with water-based markers, and I actually found it interesting to see that it only took about 6 months to almost completely fade. Some of the colors stayed and some of them completely faded. But because it wasn't a big deal kind of painting, and I didn't put too much pressure on myself, it ended up being enjoyable watching it fade. And then I took it down off the wall and put something else up. I accidentally put this color on too thick by re-wetting it from a half pan. It's actually a direct Timmy Mia gouache color called UK, which is extremely close to her actual hair color after checking my swatches. And I kind of wish I'd gotten some more of the lumps out or mixed it up a bit better, but other than that, I think things worked out well. This is just the opera pink directly from the Paul Rubens set. It's the exact perfect color for this. I intentionally went outside of the plain white areas there by using a slightly larger brush because there is supposed to be reflected light on the ground, and I added some pale blue reflected light. Oop, here's the peeling. I actually had more trouble with this peeling than I normally would have, and I think I should have used a hairdryer to heat up the tape first. It had been sealed down a little hard and painted over. It ripped a bit. I had more trouble with the tape itself ripping than the actual paper, though I did get a little tiny bit of tearing along the edges. I ripped the bottom one a little too fast, so there's going to be a little tiny bit of tearing, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Once again, that's all for this video. If you like my videos, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell to all notifications so you will know when a new video comes up. I aim for new videos every Wednesday, but sometimes life happens and things are delayed. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you with another one very soon.